Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to watch this study abroad video. My name is Lisa Johnson, and I'm the Associate Dean for International Study. My primary role is to support students who are interested in studying abroad.
And I'm Angelo Pisano, the Study Abroad Coordinator. Lisa and I work together to make sure that students have the information they need to make informed decisions about studying abroad.
In addition to advising students, we also do a lot of work assessing our host institutions and program providers abroad to make sure they're meeting Smith's expectations regarding safety and security, student support, and the academic experience.
The Office for International Study is part of the Lewis Global Studies Center. I invite all students to visit the LGSC, which is located on the first floor of Wright Hall.
Before we get into the details of the study abroad process, I wanted to spend a brief moment talking about some of the keys to success when it comes to studying abroad. I want to argue that the two most important keys are planning and research. It's important for each student to define for themselves their study abroad goals and the type of study abroad experience they're interested in pursuing. A second important key is to talk to people. Study abroad has been a long tradition at Smith, starting over 90 years ago when Smith was one of the first schools to offer a study abroad program, opening in the Smith in Paris program. This means that there are a lot of people to talk to about studying abroad, to hear different perspectives and experiences. So please encourage your students to not hesitate to reach out to return study abroad students, faculty members, and of course, Angelo or myself.
So now let's talk about some specific details about studying abroad. On this slide, you can see the list of students who are eligible to study abroad, and it pretty much includes everyone. It's really up to each student to determine when they study abroad. Most students studying abroad go during their junior year. However, there's nothing stopping sophomores or seniors from studying abroad as well. The one caveat here is for ADA Comstock scholars and transfer students as to where and when they can study abroad, depending on the number of transfer credits they applied to their Smith degree coming in and how many semesters they will be spending at Smith. So please feel free to have ADAs and transfer students reach out to us or their class deans with any questions. Students must also keep in mind that there are eligibility requirements for being approved to study abroad. Be sure to visit the eligibility section of the Study Abroad website and familiarize yourself with what will be expected of students in order to be approved to study abroad.
As we have mentioned, Smith has a long tradition of sending students abroad. I'm happy to say that students are able to study abroad in pretty much any country in the world. Smith runs its own programs in Europe, and then Smith also works with peer schools to run programs in China, Japan, and Spain. But that's not all. There's a list of approved programs with over 100 programs and destinations to choose from. Please encourage your student to find this link find the link to the approved list on the Study Abroad website.
As academic fields here in the US have evolved and changed over time, so too have those same fields abroad. It's exciting to think that students can pretty much study anything abroad, and even in countries where perhaps they're farther along in a particular area than the US. Another thing to keep in mind is that courses you take abroad or that your student will take abroad do not need to be related to their major. Studying abroad is an excellent way to do some outside of the major exploration. One of my favorite examples of this is when working with a student who was majoring in Latin American studies, and they studied abroad in China for the year just because they could.
There will be ample time throughout the fall semester to gather information about the study abroad options available. The Lewis Global Studies Center will be offering weekly information sessions, drop-in advising hours, as well as program and departmental information sessions. For example, studying abroad for engineering majors. Please be sure to check eDigest for announcements regarding the timing of these events.
Another great place to gather information is at the annual Study Abroad Fair. We're really excited this year to be able to offer an in-person fair on Tuesday, September 20th in the Davis Ballroom, and Smith students will be able to meet and chat with dozens of program providers and host institutions.
As we have already mentioned, there are a lot of people at Smith whose students can talk to for advice regarding their study abroad plans. It's important that if students are considering studying abroad, they need to start having these conversations early. So your first year students need to be talking with their liberal arts advisors about their desire to study abroad. The reason for this, remember I talked about planning? In some instances, students will be expected to meet certain language and regional prerequisites in order to be approved to study abroad. By talking to advisors and peers, students will be able to map out their 8 semesters at Smith and have a good idea of if, how, and where to study abroad can fit into that map.
The study abroad approval process starts with that planning that Lisa mentioned. It's best to begin in the fall of the year before students go abroad. This means that if your student plans to study abroad as a junior, this process starts during the sophomore year. Deadlines are only once a year, and they are in early to mid-February of the year before students go abroad.
Students aren't required to study abroad for a semester or a year. There are some really exciting summer and interterm options as well. Students are encouraged to explore the summer and interterm opportunities section of the Study Abroad website.
A really great example of that is a recent program led by Smith faculty in the Portuguese department. And that was a 2-week trip to Brazil studying the contemporary art and the parks of that country.
Other general opportunities include, as we mentioned, a Global Flex program, Tibetan Studies India program that generally runs in January, the Coral Reef Ed Adventures program that's in Belize during the summer, and the Smith Ewa Exchange in Korea that also is in the summer. There are also funding opportunities for January and summer programs. Students are eligible to apply for an International Experience Grant. Students who participate on one of the Smith programs in France, Italy, Germany, and Switzerland can also apply for a Blumberg Traveling Fellowship that will extend their time abroad. Outside of the Lewis Global Study Center, students have access to apply for Praxis that will provide funding to do an internship either in the U.S. or outside the U.S. There are a myriad of fellowships that students can apply for. Students can also request funding from the Smith Students Aid Society and from the Center of Religious and Spiritual Life.
We really can't emphasize enough that exploring the Study Abroad website is a very good source of information.
In addition to information about programs, deadlines, etc., there's a section called Planning for a Positive Experience Abroad. We really want students to peruse this information in this section as they contemplate their study abroad goals and options.
While a lot of the information that we've shared so far is for students, we also have a very helpful section for parents and guardians on the website. If you forget any of the info that we've shared today, please be sure to visit the Frequently Asked Questions section of this page.
And as we've said, please be sure to either have your students reach out to us or reach out to us yourselves with any questions you might have.
We love talking to students and always appreciate a call from parents too. That way we can make sure that everyone has all the information they need in order to prepare for the study abroad experience.